how a piece of rope can help you with your spinal fluidity. This is sort of a extension of the other spinal fluidity videos I have made, talking about the spinal wave, about the spinal spirals, and feeling in your body, how does your spine move and where are restrictions, etc. This rope flow is another way to engage with your spine. I have to be honest, at first I wasn't really that much into it because it looks weird, right? It looks weird, someone with a rope. You're used to seeing someone doing jump rope, but we're not really used to seeing people do rope flow using a rope in a very different way. We don't jump even with our feet, we just stand on the ground and let the rope go around us. And this is really important, I will tell you why later. So I saw Tim Sheaf doing this rope flow, and at first I wasn't really that much into it, but later when I started to understand also more about the human body through my education, but also just my personal interest, I was really starting to leave the rope out of the picture, but see in the spine what's going on there. I also started to watch some David Weck stuff. Some things clicked, and slowly but surely I started also seeing something in this rope flow practice. And what did I see that made me think, there's something to this? What I saw in their spine mostly, is flow. I saw fluidity. I saw continuous motion without stopping. I didn't see a linear from here to there, but I saw a circular way of moving. And as I started to know more about fluids and about ways fluids behave, expressions they can take, which I also talk about in my other spinal videos, I started becoming more interested in this, and there seemed to be something very universal and very fundamental here, which we can tap into. The fundamental pattern that I saw in someone doing rope flow is a lemnisc. This is the infinity symbol, and this is what you can see in someone's spines when they're doing rope flow. Now later I will show you this pattern very closely in my spine. Imagine this lemnisc behavior, like this movement. What can we see in this? It's a flow, it's continuous, it keeps moving and doesn't have to stop. It's not where you do a motion and you stop, it's closed. And then you have to return it, use energy to stop it and return it. A lemnisc kind of expresses this efficient way, changing a trajectory without having to stop the motion. That's a lemnisc. You see, the trajectory goes this way and you change its trajectory and then it goes the other way. So it's a means to go from one direction to another direction without having to fully stop the movement. And this gives a very efficient way to move. This rope flow practice, the movements that you practice, it's very applicable to other sorts of movement. Let's say we run. When we run, we can also use this motion, so we don't have to stop every time to go one way or go another way. We can use the momentum we have and set it forth into another direction. When someone throws a punch, this is actually a part of this lemnisc behavior, because when you punch like this is, you see my movement goes in, stretch, redirect, don't stop, and then throw it out. So we can use this pattern, this lemnisc pattern, to utilize, create momentum and change this momentum, not stop it, but change it to allow Yeah, more efficient movement, less energy cost for movement. Now, does everything always have to be efficient? That's the good question. When you're playing, not really, but usual tendency when something is more efficient, when something costs less energy, the movement itself gets more enjoyable as well. And when something is more enjoyable, you tend to do more of it. And when you tend to do more of it with less energy, that's kind of the best case scenario, right? You can do something, enjoy it, last long. Instead of forcing the body, making certain movements, we can go with the structures in the body, use them to guide you into this movement. Now, the book I talked about in my video about spinal movement, this one from Serge Kragovetsky, he actually talks about this lemnisc movement as a fundamental pattern in the spine. The spine has all these different kinds of way of moving. When you combine them all together, you actually get a lemnisc. Because a lemnisc is actually also just a spiral seen in a different dimension. A spiral is part of a torus as well. This torus, you can clearly see this lemnisc pattern, but in a 3D body instead of a 2D body. Now this is getting a bit metaphysical, but it's still interesting. So if you enjoy that, I would suggest deepening your knowledge in it, because it's very fundamental in this pattern. Now, I think I've talked enough. How about I show you how to use this rope and how to utilize the patterns which this rope gives you. I like the way how Tim actually calls this rope. He calls it the golden teacher, because this rope actually serves as a teacher which purely reflects how you use it. If you use it not in the way it wants to be used, it will reflect this upon you. It will hit you. It won't feel smooth. You will feel. And if you don't feel, this is also a practice to deepen your feeling in your own body, your proprioception. The better you feel this, the more you feel like, okay, I wasn't that smooth there. I can, with this feedback, you can shift how you move your body until eventually you can have a very efficient pattern in your body. So, enough talking. Let's go outside. The sun is out and I will show you how it's done. Okay, so we have this rope, right? Let's look at this rope a bit more detailed. You can see I can fold it very easily. It's very foldable. It's not that rigid. It actually gives way very easily, but once stretched, it will become more stiff. We have two basic movements. We can either move the rope like this, and this is underhand, and you can memorize this because you are using force in an underhand. You're under the hand. Now the other way we can use this is overhand, and we can remember this because we use force in overhand position. So in the underhand we use force in this position, which is under the hand. You see here I use force here, which is under the hand, and if I use force in the overhand position, we use force over the hand. And with overhand I mean, here's our hand, here I use force, so over the hand. So we have overhand like this, and we have underhand like this. Something we can notice when we use our rope is that we cannot just switch our rope's trajectory. So our rope is moving in this way, and we can't just fluidly make it move this way. You see that it kind of changes shape. It really has to readjust itself if I want to make it move this way. In steps it's possible, but you can kind of see I'm breaking some law here. When we rope flow, we try to keep our rope in this trajectory. The only thing which is going to change is the way our body is positioned respectively to this rope flow is going. So we can either stand like this, now the rope flow is going in on my frontal plane, or no, my sagittal plane. And when I stand like this, the rope is flowing in a frontal plane. Now, of course, we can switch it like this. We can keep it like this behind our back, but I'm not very used to this. So you can see I kind of messed this up. So let's proceed further. Why did I give you all this talk about the lemnisc? The lemnisc, oh, it's so important. Oh, so how does it apply practically towards this practice? Well, when we want to shift the rope from one side to the other side, you can see I'm moving my hands and my arms to shift the rope from side to side. This is one way, but it doesn't really engage the spine much, right? You can see my spine is really just standing still, like it's not even doing anything. So if we want to be able to use our spine in this way, we have to somehow lock the arms and the hands. First step in this is we don't use one hand to control the rope. We use both our hands to control the rope. You can see it has two sides here, and we can each hold one side in one hand. Now, when we do this same trajectory on one side and we add one of our hands towards it, we get this. And now you can already see my spine has to also engage a little bit, because my other hand, my left hand in this case, is also engaged on one side. And to be able to do this, you either have to have no resistance in your shoulder at all, or you bend your shoulder and spine towards the side which you are using. So in this sense, I have my spine engaged on my right side. If I really exaggerate this position, it would look like this. But I don't need to exaggerate it. This is enough. Now, when I want to shift my rope's position to my other side, and now I'm on the left. So in this way, you can see I'm already engaging my spine more than when I just use my hands. Why? Because I'm locking my arms and my hands, right? I'm locking it here. So I'm here, and I go shift to the other side, and now I'm here. I shift to the other side, and now I'm here. Shift, 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 shift. Yes, shifting. Shifting seems to be a main topic in this practice. Shifting from one side to the other side. Other than the rope, what am I shifting as well? Well, if I just do this, I'm not really shifting anything else. Only the position of my hands and my arms. When I shift with using both my hands in this rope, I am shifting not only the rope, but also the weight of my body, right? Because I am engaging more my spine, this means I am also shifting my weight more towards one side. I'm engaging my spine towards the right, and now you see more weight is on my right side. And you can feel this, experiment with this yourself, you can feel actually your left leg isn't much in contact with the ground in this position. Same goes for the other position. I shift my weight to left, and now
all my weight is actually on the left side of my body. I shift my weight to the left side. I'm engaging my spine more towards the right because I have to actually engage this other arm, which is on the opposite side as well. Now my weight is more on the left. Now also my weight is fully on my left leg. If I shift to the right, my weight is fully on the right leg. If I shift to the left, my weight is fully on the left leg. So it's not only shifting the rope, it's shifting my whole weight system. This is interesting. So I'm shifting weight, shifting weight, shifting weight. And how do we do this as fluidly as possible? This is where the lemnisc comes into play. I already told you with the lemnisc, we have a trajectory and we shift this trajectory towards the opposite direction without having to fully stop. So when we only rotate our body, now I have to stop and rotate to the other side. You can see I have to stop and activate again and again. Of course, there's also some elasticity in this rotation, so I can use that elasticity, but there is a much better way to do this, and this is through a lemnisc motion. We shift the rope from side to side, and not only the rope, also the weight, we shift from side to side. What we can do to engage with this weight shifting and to instill this efficient pattern of motion of this lemnisc is the following. We try to move less and less with our hands and more with our spine. This forces our spine to have to really engage, and the way it engages is through three different planes of motion. I already told you, we have this plane of motion, this plane of motion, and this plane of motion. And when we combine all of these, we get lateral flexion to the right, we get a rotation to the right, and we get a flexion to the right. Of course, this is very exaggerated, but it shows you the three dimensions, the three motions which are included in this lemnisc behavior. And here, and here. And so this is very exaggerated, of course, but in essence, these are the motions which you have to keep in mind. And you can play with this. Use more of one motion, use less of another motion. Try to see how this feels in your body, your individual body. This tells you the general motion of this lemnisc pattern. And to really engage with this lemnisc pattern, you have to use the whole spine. And of course, this is something you will learn when you do this more and more. But I will exaggerate it in the following sequence, that I'm using my hips a lot as a driving motor. Hips and the spine very related to each other. When I want to use this motion and then also translate it to any other kind of motion or movement which uses this lemnisc behavior, like I told you, for example, the punch. I have this hip. You see, I'm rotated the lateral flex, and I translate into a punch. We are in this movement, and you can see I'm using my hips to drive this motion. And I'm just allowing the structure of my whole spine to facilitate this movement. You can see the structure of the spine as the container which is containing the movement. The movement is happening. I'm just allowing the container or my spine to facilitate this movement, which is already there. And once you really start to grasp this pattern of motion, it will feel really natural, actually, really natural. And when you actually throw away this rope, you will feel this pattern translated into different types of motion. If you are very sharp, you might have noticed that when I do a punch, I'm not using the motion I just showed you. I'm using the overhand, which is the other way. What I just showed you was the underhand movement. If I reorient it, it goes to overhand position. You see? And this is how I punch. You see the movement? Bang, bang, bang. This rope will let you know, man. This rope will let you know if you don't move fluidly and the way it wants to. Because if you don't, it will smack you. It will smack you, and this can hurt. And we'd rather not experience this, right? So we try to adjust it. It's a feedback system. That's why this rope, the name of this rope, Golden Teacher, so accurate. Such a good name for a tool which we can use. Because it really is a teacher. It teaches you how to use this fluently without a person observing and telling you what to do. This rope will tell you what to do. It won't tell you. It will make you feel what to do. And I will show you how my spine is moving. I'm exaggerating a bit right now, but it's to show you this pattern of movement. It's lemnisc. Yeah, so there's a lot of variation you can use, but these are more extensions of this basic pattern, and I think the real value lies in this simplicity here, the shifting of your weight. And yeah, hope this helps. Move well, be well. See you in the next one.